Time is one of the most precious resources in any relationship. It is the thread that binds two people together, weaving shared memories, fostering intimacy, and nurturing understanding. But in the rush of daily life, time often becomes a battleground, a source of misunderstanding, resentment, and frustration. When couples struggle with time issues, feel taken for granted, or face recurring conflicts over chore distribution, these challenges can erode even the strongest bonds. Understanding these issues, their roots, and the ways to address them is essential for building a resilient and fulfilling partnership. Let's begin by exploring the challenge of time issues in relationships. In the early days of love, time seems to stretch endlessly. Hours spent together feel fleeting, and every moment is cherished. But as life grows more complex with work, family, and social commitments, couples often find themselves competing for each other's attention. The simple act of spending quality time together, uninterrupted, meaningful, and present, can become a rare luxury. Time issues manifest in many ways. Perhaps one partner feels neglected because the other is always working late, or glued to their phone, or prioritizing friends and hobbies over the relationship. Maybe both partners are so overwhelmed by responsibilities that they rarely sit down together for a meal, let alone enjoy a date night. Over time, these patterns can breed loneliness and disconnection. The message, whether intended or not, is that the relationship is no longer a priority. The roots of time issues are varied. Sometimes they stem from external pressures, demanding jobs, parenting duties, or caring for aging relatives. Other times, they arise from differences in how each person values and manages time. One partner may crave constant companionship, while the other needs solitude to recharge. Without open communication, these differences can become sources of conflict. Addressing time issues requires intention and effort. It begins with honest conversations about needs and expectations. Each partner must feel safe to express how much time together feels right and what kinds of activities foster connection. It's not just about quantity, but quality. A few minutes of genuine, undistracted attention can mean more than hours spent side by side, but emotionally distant. Couples can benefit from creating rituals, small, regular practices that reinforce their bond. This might be a nightly walk, a weekly breakfast date, or simply turning off devices during dinner. Scheduling time for each other may seem unromantic, but in a busy world, it's a sign of commitment. It says, "You matter to me." Our relationship matters. But time is not only about togetherness, it's also about respecting each other's need for personal space. Healthy relationships strike a balance between intimacy and independence. Supporting each other's individual interests and friendships enriches the partnership, bringing new energy and perspectives. Now, let's turn to the feeling of being taken for granted, a silent but powerful force that can undermine love. In the early stages of a relationship, appreciation flows easily. Every gesture, every effort, is noticed and celebrated. Over time, as routines settle in, it's easy to overlook the small things our partners do for us. The morning coffee, the affectionate text, the way the house is tidied or the bills are paid. These acts can fade into the background, assumed rather than acknowledged. Feeling taken for granted is deeply painful. It's the sense that your efforts, your presence, your very self are invisible. It can lead to resentment, withdrawal, and a gradual erosion of intimacy. The partner who feels unappreciated may stop making efforts, creating a cycle of neglect that feeds on itself. Why does this happen? Partly, it's human nature. We adapt quickly to positive changes, and what once felt extraordinary becomes ordinary. Familiarity breeds comfort, but it can also breed complacency. Sometimes couples fall into fixed roles, one always organizing, the other always providing, each assuming the other will continue without thanks. The antidote to being taken for granted is gratitude. Expressing appreciation, even for the smallest things, is a powerful way to nurture love. It doesn't have to be grand or elaborate. A simple thank you, a hug, a note left on the pillow, these gestures remind your partner that you see them, value them, and don't take them for granted. It's important to remember that appreciation is a two-way street. Both partners need to feel valued, and both need to give recognition. If you feel unappreciated, speak up gently. Share how certain gestures make you feel loved, and how their absence affects you. Invite your partner to share what they value too. Sometimes we overlook efforts because we don't realize how much they matter. Regular check-ins can help. Ask each other, "What's one thing I did this week that made you feel appreciated?" Or, "Is there something you wish I would notice more?" These conversations can open new pathways of understanding and connection. Now, let's delve into one of the most common sources of conflict in relationships: chore distribution. The way couples divide household responsibilities is about much more than cleanliness or organization. It reflects deeper issues of fairness, respect, and partnership. In many relationships, chores are not distributed equally. One partner may find themselves doing the lion's share of cooking, cleaning, laundry, and organizing, while the other contributes less. This imbalance can stem from traditional gender roles, differences in standards, or simply a lack of communication. Over time, it can lead to frustration, exhaustion, and resentment. Chore distribution issues are often complicated by invisible labor. The mental load of keeping track of what needs to be done, planning meals, remembering birthdays, or managing schedules. This work is less visible, but just as taxing as physical chores. When one partner carries most of this load, they may feel overwhelmed and unsupported. Addressing chore distribution requires a shift from assumptions to agreements. It's easy to fall into patterns where one person automatically takes on certain tasks, either because they're better at them or because they did them in the past. But fair division is not about keeping score. It's about partnership and respect. Start by having an honest conversation about chores. Lay out all the tasks, big and small, visible and invisible, that keep your home and life running. Discuss which ones each of you prefers, which ones you dislike, and which ones you're willing to learn. Be open about your standards and expectations. Sometimes, conflicts arise because one partner doesn't notice messes or doesn't care about certain details. Finding common ground is key. Once you've mapped out the responsibilities, create a plan that feels fair to both of you. This may mean splitting chores evenly, alternating tasks, or taking turns on the more unpleasant jobs. Remember that fairness isn't always about strict equality. It's about balance and mutual satisfaction. Flexibility is important. Life changes, work schedules shift, children grow, health fluctuates. Be willing to revisit your agreements and adjust as needed. Check in regularly. How are we doing with chores? Is anything feeling out of balance? These conversations prevent resentment from building up. Sharing chores can also be an opportunity for connection. Doing tasks together, cooking a meal, folding laundry, or tidying up, can be a time to talk, laugh, and collaborate. It turns a source of conflict into a moment of teamwork. Underlying all these issues, time, appreciation, chores, is the need for empathy and communication. Relationships thrive when both partners feel seen, heard, and valued. When challenges arise, it's easy to fall into blame or defensiveness. But approaching problems as a team, us against the problem, rather than me versus you, creates a foundation for growth. Here are some practical strategies to address these common relationship issues. First, prioritize regular open communication. Set aside time each week to check in with each other, not just about logistics, but about feelings, needs, and concerns. Use I statements to express how you feel, rather than accusing or blaming. For example, "I feel lonely when we don't spend time together," instead of, "You never make time for me." Second, be intentional about quality time. Schedule it if necessary, and protect it from distractions. Even brief moments of connection, a shared cup of coffee, a walk around the block, a few minutes of conversation before bed, can make a big difference. Third, practice gratitude daily. Make it a habit to notice and acknowledge your partner's efforts, both big and small. Express appreciation sincerely and often. If you feel unappreciated, share your feelings kindly and invite your partner to do the same. Fourth, approach chores as a partnership. Make the invisible labor visible by listing all responsibilities. divide tasks in a way that feels fair, and be willing to renegotiate as circumstances change. Remember that teamwork is more important than perfection. Fifth, support each other's individuality. Encourage your partner to pursue their interests and friendships, and do the same for yourself. A healthy relationship is made up of two whole people who choose to share their lives. Finally, seek help if needed. Sometimes patterns of neglect, resentment, or imbalance are deeply entrenched. Couples counseling or relationship coaching can provide tools and perspectives to break through stuck places and rebuild connection. It's important to recognize that none of us are perfect. We all fall into habits, get distracted, or take our partners for granted at times. What matters is the willingness to notice, to care, and to keep showing up for each other. Relationships are living things. They require attention, effort, and nourishment. When you invest in your relationship, by making time, expressing appreciation, and sharing responsibilities, you create a safe haven for both partners. You build trust, intimacy, and resilience. Challenges will still arise, but you'll face them together with compassion and understanding. Remember that every couple's journey is unique. What works for one may not work for another. The key is to stay curious about each other, to keep learning and growing together. When you encounter time issues, feelings of being taken for granted, or conflicts over chores, see them not as signs of failure, but as opportunities to deepen your connection. In the end, relationships are not about grand gestures or flawless harmony. They are about the daily acts of love, the choices to listen, to care, to forgive, and to try again. They are built in the small moments, a shared laugh, a kind word, a helping hand. When you nurture these moments, you create a partnership that can weather any storm. So, if you find yourself struggling with time, feeling unappreciated, or overwhelmed by chores, take heart. You are not alone. These are common challenges faced by couples everywhere. With patience, openness, and a commitment to growth, you can transform these issues into stepping stones toward a stronger, more loving relationship. And as you move forward, remember, love is not just a feeling, but a practice. It is built day by day in the choices you make and the ways you show up for each other. Cherish your time together, appreciate each other's efforts, and share the load. In doing so, you create a relationship that is not only lasting, but truly fulfilling.